When I investigated the science behind hydroxytyrosol, what I found completely changed how I look at olive oil marketing. So today, I'm gonna show you how much hydroxytyrosol you need to consume daily according to scientific research. I'm going to tell you what European authorities documented regarding polyphenols and extra virgin olive oil, and also I'm going to tell you how to get the right amount of hydroxytyrosol without having to overpay. Quick disclaimer, everything that I'm about to share is based on independent studies. Therefore, everything that I'm sharing is not intended to diagnose, is not intended to treat, is not intended to cure, is not intended to prevent any diseases. So please consult your health care professional for any diet changes or wellness routines. Let's start with what hydroxytyrosol is. Hydroxytyrosol is. Hydroxytyrosol is a polyphenol that is found in extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. Okay, that has fascinating properties that have captured the imagination and the attention of many researchers all over the world. So, what makes hydroxytyrosol such a remarkable compound? Its chemical structure. It contains two hydroxyl groups. Ooh, I know, chemistry is not something all of us like, but is this group what gives actually hydroxytyrosol such a high ORAC value. ORAC is actually a measurement of antioxidant capacity. When researchers study how antioxidants interact with free radicals in controlled environments, hydroxytyrosol shows amazing and remarkable properties consistently over and over again. Though many people think that they can get hydroxytyrosol from different sources, the reality is that extra virgin olive oil is the only dietary source that is actually natural and bioavailable. Let me tell you why. So let's start with the olive fruit. The olive fruit obviously contains hydroxytyrosol, but in significant amounts. You would have to consume an impractical numbers of olives to get the needed amount daily. Let's look at the olive leaves. The olive leaf do contain hydroxytyrosol, but it requires chemical processing to extract it. And this is no hydroxytyrosol how nature intended. And finally, you can get hydroxytyrosol from the olive meal waste water, but that is a byproduct of olive oil processing, and it is not really for human consumption, and it would require a lot of extra processing. This natural scarcity of hydroxytyrosol makes extra virgin olive oil the only practical way to get this magnificent compound part of your diet. Another important polyphenols that work along hydroxytyrosol are oleacanthal. This is the polyphenol that gives that beautiful peppery finish at the back of your throat. The other one is oleoperine, and this is the polyphenol that gives extra virgin olive oil that pleasant, bitter taste. And it actually, in breakdown, it converts into hydroxytyrosol. And then lastly, and very important too, is tyrosol, which has a similar structure than hydroxytyrosol, but it has a lower antioxidant capacity. Now, it's very important to understand that hydroxytyrosol doesn't really work on its own. That these compounds that we name here, they don't really work on their own. They work together, creating what scientists call a synergistic effect. In other words, all these compounds, they work together, enhancing each other's property in a way that supplements with isolated compounds cannot replicate this synergistic effect. This natural symphony of compounds is the reason why, when you look at all the studies regarding the Mediterranean diet, it focuses on the olive oil as a whole rather than the isolated compounds. It seems that nature packaged all these compounds into olive oil for a reason. Here it is where things get really interesting. The European Food Safety Authority have thoroughly reviewed all the research of olive oil and polyphenols. In 2012, the EFSA, after reviewing extensive research of olive oil and polyphenols, authorized a health supportive claim through a regulation commission number EU 432/2012 that actually shows the relationship between the polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil and blood lipids and oxidative stress. What makes this super significant is that the EFSA rarely authorizes such health claims. Their process requires extensive evidence, extensive research studies. It requires extensive peers reviews, and it requires extensive demonstration of cause and effect. Here is the key part that these expensive olive oil brands don't tell you. The regulation specifically says that an olive oil must contain 5 mg of hydroxytyrosol over 20 grams of olive oil, which is about 1.5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Let me repeat again. The scientifically documented amount that an individual must consume daily is not 10 grams, it's not 20 grams, it's not 100 grams, it's not the super astronomical amounts that these brands are bragging about. No. What an individual needs to consume, according to the scientific report, is 5 mg of hydroxytyrosol and derivative per 20 gram of olive oil. That's it, which is about 1.5 tablespoons daily. This is an important distinction that gets remarkably overlooked in marketing materials. This is what is happening. Many olive oil companies are just claiming 2,000 polyphenols, and then charging $90 per bottle. But this amount of polyphenols is technically irrelevant. According to the EFSA and the regulation and all the extensive study that they did, what matters is not the total amount of polyphenols. No, who cares if it is 2,000, 3,000, 4,000? It What matters is the amount of hydroxytyrosol and its derivative. That's what matters. So when you see all these ultra premium quality brands advertising the total amount of polyphenols and actually not disclosing the levels of hydroxytyrosol, I mean, there is no studies showing anything about those polyphenols. All the scientific study talks about the hydroxytyrosol and its derivatives. That's it. This is when my investigation took an unexpected turn. I noticed that all these ultra-high polyphenol brands were sending their product for test to a lab in Athens, Greece. When we sent our Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil to this lab, we noticed that the numbers that we got were impressively high. In fact, they were double the amount that we got from labs whose facilities were here in the United States. This suggests polyphenol inflation, where some facilities consistently suggest higher numbers in comparison with other facilities. This variation can really happen for several reasons. You know, it could be different extraction methods to isolate the polyphenols. I mean, different detection methods combined with different analytical instruments, different reference standards, you know, and inconsistent protocols. In other words, you know, without having a standardized protocol and way of measuring, it becomes problematic to compare the measurements of polyphenols because each lab is using a different standard. By the way, if you want to see a deep exploration on this lab testing issue, please watch our YouTube video, Moroccan Olive Oil Polyphenol. What are the lab tests? This video goes into more detail about these discrepancies and what it means to customers when they're trying to compare, you know, different olive oil brands. By the way, the link is in the description. So going back to the European Food Safety Authority, the documented amount is 5 mg of hydroxytyrosol and its derivative per 20 grams of olive oil, which, as we say, 20 grams of olive oil is about 1.5 tablespoons. That is the documented amount. That is connected to protecting blood lipids from oxidative stress. And this is what's really important. Just as medication has therapeutic amounts, when it comes to hydroxytyrosol, more doesn't mean better. In fact, after extensive research, the EFSA concluded that the threshold amount that needs to be consumed daily is only 5 mg over 20 grams of olive oil. Consuming more, there was no evidence showing that consuming more will give an individual greater benefits. Several factors affect the hydroxytyrosol content in extra virgin olive oil. The first one is the olive variety. Some varieties have a higher content of hydroxytyrosol than others. Noche Lara is one of them. Harvest timing. Early harvest actually contains higher amount of polyphenol. Production methods, cold press, using a waterless press, usually yields an extra virgin olive oil with higher number of polyphenols, and storage condition is very important because you want to slow down the degradation of extra virgin olive oil. And when it comes to polyphenol content, the EFSA threshold for an extra virgin olive oil that usually contains 5 mg over 20 grams of hydroxytyrosol is, believe it or not, 250 mg over kg. So at Papa Vince, we just don't make any claims. We actually validate our claims with rigorous lab testing. Our latest lab test shows the presence of key polyphenols and their measurements along, I have it backwards, along with the total amount of polyphenols, which is 515 mg over kg. What's particularly noteworthy is that we performed this test 8 months later after harvest, which shows the stability of Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil and the care we take when it comes to storage. When you look at lab tests, what you're gonna find out is that Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil doesn't just contain 5 mg per 20 grams of extra virgin olive oil, it actually contains double, 10.29 over 20 grams. What this means to you is that you don't have to consume 1.5 tablespoons of Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil daily. You only have to consume 3/4 of a tablespoon to get the benefits, which is costing you only $1 per day. In other words, there is no need for you to pay $2 and $3 per serving for other extra virgin olive oils that claim higher levels of polyphenols, because according to scientific study and according to the EFSA, there is no evidence indicating that it makes a difference. You wonder why Papa Vince has double the amount. Well, the reason is simple. The reason number one is because Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil is made from one single variety, Nocellata del Belice, which scientifically has shown that consistently contains higher amounts of hydroxytyrosol than other varieties. The second reason is because we harvest early. Early harvest means higher numbers of polyphenol. And the third reason is because we cold press using a waterless press. Basically, we keep all the hydroxytyrosol in the olive oil. None is lost in the water. So let me give you some practical ways to incorporate olive oil into your diet. But first, let me remind you again, Papa Vince contains not 5 mg over 20 grams, it contains 10.29, which means that you don't have to consume 1.5 tablespoons daily. You only have to consume 3/4 of a tablespoon of Papa Vince daily to meet the threshold that the EFSA says that you need to consume daily to get this benefit of protecting your blood lipids from oxidative stress. That being said, since it's only, since you only have to consume 3/4 of a tablespoon, that is super easy. In the morning, you can just drizzle on your oatmeal, you can drizzle on your toast, you can drizzle on your eggs, for lunch, you can drizzle on your vegetables, you can drizzle on your pasta. And for night, you just can prepare a salad and just drizzle over your salad. You can drizzle over your any food. This is very simple for you to do. So let me give you some quick recipes. Just prepare a Mediterranean bowl. Just put some quinoa, some cucumbers, some tomatoes, some feta cheese, and just drizzle some extra virgin olive oil with a bit of lemon. delicious. I mean, a simple dip. Just get some herbs that you like and just mix it with extra virgin olive oil and get some bread. Delicious. Or, this is the simplest things of all, and it's the best. Just drizzle Papa Vince or your olive oil into any food, you know, your spaghettis, your rigatonis, your lasagnas, your soup. I mean, believe me, your food will taste better than ever. Consuming extra virgin olive oil alongside other foods is a Mediterranean tradition. The best way to store your bottle of extra virgin olive oil is just keep it in the pantry in a dark, cool place away from the heat. The other thing you want to do is you want to keep the seal tight, and you want to consume it as soon as possible. Especially, specifically within 1 year. So, how much hydroxytyrosol do you need per day? According to the EFSA, you need about 5 mg of hydroxytyrosol per day, which usually is found in 1.5 tablespoons of qualifying extra virgin olive oil, not just any olive oil, certain type of extra virgin olive oil. Now, it's important to understand that while some olive brands brag about their super high amount of polyphenols, these high numbers of polyphenols, according to the EFSA, there is no evidence that they will proportionally provide a higher benefit. In fact, this focusing on the total amount of polyphenols is a distraction from the evidence. The evidence is clear. It's the amount of hydroxytyrosol what really makes a difference. So what truly matters is consuming an extra virgin olive oil that actually contains hydroxytyrosol. And the EFSA tell us that an olive oil that has a 250 mg over kg polyphenol levels usually contains enough hydroxytyrosol. Okay, the other thing that we learn is that the type of variety give you an indication of how much hydroxytyrosol an extra virgin olive oil is going to have. For instance, Noche Lara usually has higher amounts of hydroxytyrosol than other varieties. The other thing that we learn is that proper production, cold press, and storage is very important. And lab test. Make sure your supplier or your brand that you're using give you the lab test. They do matter. You want to make sure that hydroxytyrosol is present. And finally, good olive oil tastes excellent, and it makes your eating experience just amazing. Now remember, the potential benefits of extra virgin olive oil can only be achieved with regular consumption. That being said, we also want to emphasize that Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil doesn't contain 5 mg over 20. It actually contains 10.29, so double. That means that you only need to consume 3/4 of a tablespoon, costing you $1 daily. That's it. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to our channel and just give us a like. Every thumb up helps. And please don't forget to check our description. You will find all our blog post links.